Hello, good morning. I'm just going to check something. I added some hooks yesterday so that when I go live, there should be like a tweet. But I'm not sure if it's working. So let's see if it is. Twitter. Like I think it happens within a minute or something. I'm not sure how would I like know if it happens. Okay, let's give it some time and see if it occurs. And it should also like create a Slack message to my colleagues. Oh, just went live. Cool. I'm just going to check if the link actually points to this session. Oh, and it does. Awesome. Ha! So on Slack now, my colleagues got a message that I just went live and they can click it and it works. I'm not sure about the tweet though. I have no idea. Like, is there like a, I don't know, like a log of my tweets or something? More analytics. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. We'll see if it pops up later. Anyways, at least my colleagues know that I'm live. Okay, so yes, we have an hour until I have a session. And there are a couple of things that we need to figure out. Wow, it's sunny. There we go. I'm reflecting on, like, we've been working on this linting stuff. We got a couple of fixes into production, which is great. But I don't know how we are going to detect ESLint in terms of a good user experience. Because the way it works now in Code Sandbox is that if you don't have ESLint, we run prettier formatting, regardless if you have prettier or not. That's the default experience. And then if you add ESLint, the formatting suddenly stops. Because now we are running like a lint fix instead. And that is really weird. And people have been asking, like, why doesn't the formatter suddenly work? Well, it's because you added ESLint. And to add to that, we're checking like if you have the ESLint package installed. We don't check if your package JSON actually states ESLint, which adds to the confusion. But if you were to install the ESLint plugin Prettier, suddenly the formatting works again, but not because we now use Prettier as a formatter, it's because ESLint starts using Prettier as a formatter. And that's important that ESLint does it, because then it does like lint fixes with the formatting. So, like one maybe silly way to deal with it is, so there's two aspects to this. One thing is detecting if ESLint is installed at all. The other thing is, what do we do about formatting when you move to ESLint? So we could detect, so given that we actually implement ESLint detection, we could just as easily detect if you have the ESLint Prettier plugin installed. Hello, Dan. How did you get here? Was there a tweet? or is it like a notification on YouTube or something? I'm trying this automatic tweeting. It worked for Slack, but I don't know if it worked for tweets. And I don't understand Twitter. Like, how the hell do I see a log of my tweets? Anyways, doesn't matter. Oh, you're a subscriber. Awesome. Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, I got this new cool setup. Like, I usually plan the streams, but now I can just open the app, the streaming app. I can click go live, and it automatically tweets and sends a message to my colleagues on Slack that I'm live. And of course, YouTube itself does that. That's nice. It's lowering the threshold to do these types of streams that I want to do now, which is basically just working on the product. Anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, so what we could do is like, so what if you install ESLint and we detect that you have ESLint, but you don't have the Prettier plugin? What we can do in that case is that we run ESLint formatting, but then we also run it through Prettier. It would make it a tiny bit slower, but maybe not noticeably. So I would like to try that because I think that smoothens the experience. It's like I'm here, I got formatting, now I install ESLint, and I still have formatting. But then if I install the ESLint plugin Prettier, you know what? I'm going to create a PR, and we're going to test this. We're going to test to run formatting through Prettier, even though we run it through ESLint first, just to see like what's the effect of that. Because the Prettier formatter is insanely fast. And that means that if we do that and it's insanely fast, we could actually, first of all, you don't have to install the ESLint plugin Prettier. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of the user experience is hard. But yeah, we're going to try it. See, and this also actually ties into something else I want to check. I want to check why it feels like the linting is a bit slow. Let's see. Language provider, LSP servers. So we're here with TypeScript. Because what's interesting is that if you have ESLint, we still run Prettier for CSS and JSON. So what we're going to do here, oh, this is interesting. So, okay, so we're going to change this. We're not actually going to detect the formatter. We are just going to, well, okay, let's keep that. Let's detect the formatter. But if it's the ESLint formatter, we're going to new content, return this dot Prettier formatter. Oh, here it takes a document. Get format document response. Text formatting request. Okay, this isn't. What the hell is this? It's a method params document format. It has a text document. And that text document has. Oh, does it have internal state on the? Yeah. Get format document response. Get format response. Yeah, it goes and grabs the text document. how does it get okay, so there's a document called interesting. Okay, so what we can do here is, because this happens synchronously, right? No, async. So we'll just await this. All right, what we can do is return, and then we'll this. And then when that's done, we'll return this. Response. Why is this? Oh, we're not returning, sorry. We're just doing this, I think. Wait. I'm confused. What the hell was this? Oh, we did return. Format file, and that returns a string. But if that returns a string, what ESLint format file? Oh, this is interesting. Why do we have get format response? Why does it? Oh, interesting. Why does Prettier have an internal get format response? Why doesn't that just happen? Oh, this is inconsistent. Yeah, we have to make this consistent. So the question is, get format document response, and that's get format response. And what does that mean? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, this is a little bit inconsistent. So Prettier should just be responsible for formatting. It shouldn't do that thing. It should be a string. And it should take a file path and contents. Yeah, you see that like it's very much delayed, the linting, which I don't, it's not good. It needs to be way faster, so we have to figure that out. Okay, so when we now do we should do this instead, so it looks exactly the same. This Prettier formatter, format, file path and content. And we should do the same for CSS. So this takes, how does the server get there's a document, message, and the document state. Oh, it's request. What the hell? Now I'm confused. Oh, wait. There we go. Get format response. There we go. Yeah. It should be just replaceable. Cool. And then the same for JSON. Yes. Cool. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, good question. When are we doing the linting? We are doing the linting. It's actually Monaco controlling this, so it's like on hover. It's not strict. Well, so linting is a bit tricky. So, what is linting compared to formatting? From the perspective of ESLint, linting is when you open a file, it runs diagnostics. When you change the file, it runs diagnostics. But it's also when you hover stuff, I believe. No, that's something else. Yeah, that's something else. So basically, when you open a file and when you change a file, that's when it runs linting. Yeah, currently at least. And then when you save, it runs formatting. So like when you format, you run the linter with like the fix flag, which gives you an actual output of the changes. So that's like a different message to the server. So typically when you change code and open a file, it sends like a diagnostic message, and then on save, it sends a format message. But yeah, this is something we have to explore, like figure out when should that linting occur, because it's not the best experience now. What the hell? Yeah, and this shouldn't be get format. This should just be format. Oh yeah, so we can just remove this actually. Yeah. Cool, this is much better. Now it's consistent. Yeah, and what we try to do now is when we do, so we have yeah, so now we can do this. We format the file, and then we can say then new content, and then we can say this prettier formatter format the new content with file path with new content. Now the thing is, like, we don't want to do this if we actually have the prettier plugin. So this testing is, we still have to do detection, but I think it will create a more consistent experience, given that it's fast enough. So let's start up a new branch where we CodeSandbox applications. Let's create a new branch. Let's copy this thing. Let's go to web, CodeSandbox, and we have local. Now we got our PRs in here, which makes it much easier for us to add this environment variable. I don't think my tweet went out for some reason. I'll check that later. I'm using, what's it called? The tweet on YouTube. Like, yeah, it's called like Iffy or something. Oh, YouTube tweet automatically. What's it called? Yeah, there it is. I'm just going to check. Yeah, we don't. Good. Dashboard. This is the last thing I'm going to fix. Where we should show the authentication screen here. I'm just logging in to continue with Google. Authorize. All right, let's log in. Optimize your notifications. My applets. Maybe later. Connected. Archive. Yeah, view activity. Applet failed. Oh, interesting. There was a problem with the trigger. Okay. So what does that mean? Okay. Okay, I can look into that later. So let's open this one. And I think actually this main... yeah, we have to refresh. So what should happen now is that we have... does this one have ESLint? Yeah, this one has ESLint, but it doesn't have... it doesn't have prettier. Yeah, it doesn't really have prettier, like with the old logic. Oh, sorry. Of course, I have to build it. Packages, picture, yarn build. Let's see, I don't need to look at this thing. Minimize. I wonder if I'm... yeah. Oops. And then let's restart the task. Oh, that's kind of annoying. It opens up the... anyways. Okay, so let's see now. Oh, that felt... it's still super fast. I think that's better. Like it's not noticeably slower, but it does not make sense to run prettier twice. So so what happens now is that it goes through ESLint first. ESLint does any fixes it can, and then it runs it through prettier. So now when you're in the situation of starting out your project, maybe you do something and the form, like you have this experience of when... my goal with this PR is like when you're in Code Sandbox, you always have formatting. And we're opinionated by that. Like we have very explicit... no, it's not a large file. Yeah, like when I say this is fast enough, I should really be arrested on that. Like if it's a big file, it would of course be slower. Yeah. Like how should we validate this? Well, what we can do, we can validate. Okay, so if we create like this huge ass file, home to, yeah, like though with like 3,000 lines or 2,000 lines, it's slow no matter. So I don't think. Well, of course, it's even slower as it needs to go through it twice. Yeah, because what could happen is like the bad thing about this is if we do it like this, you might not install the Prettier plugin. You'll just settle with this, and then it's a bit slower. So we kind of, from a user experience, we kind of flip the problem. It's like, oh, so you're in, so we don't actually need to install the ESLint Prettier plugin. And then you kind of end up with a, wow. This is this is one of the more interesting things I've worked on, like challenging from a user experience perspective. I like the biggest problem is really that we don't indicate in the UI what the state of formatting and linting is. We don't state that ESLint is active. We don't state that Prettier is active. And it would definitely help if we expose that, but we don't really have a good way to expose that currently, because this whole thing really relies on the language protocol, and the language protocol doesn't really have what's the state of the current formatter and stuff. But we have our own protocol for the development environment, so we can easily argue that we want to expose that as a separate thing. Yeah, that's interesting, Dan. We can do a formatting behind the scenes, and then it's ready to go. Like you do a debounced. You do like, so whenever we, yeah, that's interesting. Especially with ESLint, we could do like a debounced format on linting messages. So that it's ready to go when you save the file. That's really interesting. Oh, there's so much we can do with this. Because that's also my struggle. I'm struggling with like figuring out what the steps should be. But yeah. But okay, so this is one way to, like, we haven't solved the problem, we've just changed the problem. So for argument's sake, let's just say that this is fast enough. And now we consistently format your code regardless of you moving to ESLint or not. Oh, you know what we can do? No, that doesn't matter. That doesn't help. Yeah. Okay. So let's say we do that. And now what we need to do is detect if ESLint and the plugin is installed. And currently we have logic for that, but that logic is not that reliable because it's run when you do formatting. Like the check is run when you do formatting, not when it does linting. And the reason is because it does it every time you format. It goes and looks for these packages, which is really fast, but formatting only happens when you save. So, but linting, there's tons of linting messages all the time, and we can't traverse the file system every time those messages occur, so we have to explicitly look for ESLint. And then we have the other case, is like, okay, so my idea is that we know the project root. We can go and watch node modules to see if ESLint is being installed as a package or being removed. And we can also look at package.json to see if ESLint is added or removed. So if ESLint is in package.json and it's installed as a package, we actually run ESLint. If it's either removed from package.json or it's been removed from node modules, we don't run ESLint. So the watching of node modules is really to detect if we can run ESLint at all, while in package.json, it's more of a user experience. So if you remove ESLint from package.json, you really expect the linting to stop. Like for any reason, ESLint might still be in node modules without you knowing it. And it's really weird that you still get linting when you said that ESLint is not to be used anymore. At least that's the argument. And then it's like, what about monorepos? That's the problem with this. In a monorepo, like, does anyone have ESLint installed in multiple packages in a monorepo and not in the root package.json? Maybe. I don't know. No, we don't lint JSON files. We only lint code files, like it's a TypeScript server, so like JavaScript and TypeScript files. I believe. Like the... Oh yeah, we format JSON files, but there we use Prettier. So we have these different language servers. So we have like CSS, JSON, TypeScript, and then for CSS and JSON, we run Prettier regardless. There's no ESLint involved in that. It's only ESLint involved in the TypeScript server. Yeah, so basically the argument for detecting ESLint. So one way of detecting ESLint is to just watch the root node modules and root package.json. The only problem there is if there are any monorepos that, for example, only adds ESLint to a package.json in an actual package, but then it, like, ESLint is still installed in root, I believe. Well, I guess it depends on your monorepo tool, how it does that. That's a point. I'm not sure if that's a good enough check. I think it's much better that we just tell the user what's happening. Like when you load the project, we can do, like, when you load the project, we'll try using ESLint, and if it doesn't work, we notify with a message that ESLint isn't active. That's the best way to check if ESLint works or not. Is just try it, because then the daemon handling ESLint just either it works or it doesn't work, and then we notify the client about that, and we can show it in the UI. And then when you install ESLint, you will still have that ESLint is not active, and then you can like restart. Or we could like have the state of the, maybe that will be even better. Yeah, it could be tied to the state of the language server. So if you open like a JSON file, you would see kind of the state of the language server for that JSON file. Kind of like VS Code has at the bottom. You can kind of see it, and then you can click it. And then so when you open like a TypeScript file, it would show you if ESLint or is active. Oh, I don't know. This is so tied into product and everything, so I need more people with more input. So maybe we should just attack this from a technical perspective. So we have kind of fixed an inconsistency now, and so I consider that like a bug. That when you move to ESLint, formatting just stops working. That's like a bug, and we've fixed that bug now. Let's use that perspective. And now the new problem, the second part of the issue, which is considered like a bug, is that we aren't, when you install ESLint or remove it, we are not like starting and stopping the ESLint server. So what's interesting though is that regardless of this, we are actually starting both Prettier and ESLint. Even though you haven't ESLint installed, we actually start the ESLint server, but it fails. But the client still sends requests for diagnostics. It's just an empty result because there is no ESLint server running. So one could like imagine that whenever we ask for diagnostics, we could just try to start the server again. But that's a lot of requests. Like that's a lot of bunch of error messages. Like every single. Okay, wait a minute. Because that would solve it. Like, yeah, so pointing to the debouncing we talked about then, we could do that as well. So check out this piece of logic. In ESLint, we have this lint file. This is what happens. And currently when it's stopped, we just return an empty result. But what we could do here, we could, if it stopped, we could do a debounce of like, yeah, we could do like a debounce so that, I don't know, for a certain amount of time. And it wouldn't be a debounce that ignores that like ignores messages. It would rather be a debounce that tries to start the linting server. So that means like, would that make sense? So in practice, so if I were like, okay, I've just installed ESLint, it's added to package.json, I go to my file and I start, yeah, even just going to that file, that should trigger like a lint thing. Okay, I want to try something. I want to try. So this is the theory. It's like we see that it stopped, and we're going to debounce a request for starting it again. But yeah, the one thing I'm curious about is that we should delay. No, we shouldn't debounce. I think we should throttle. Because if we throttle, it means that, okay, it just goes through. And every second we try to start the server again. Like based on incoming linting messages, every second we try to start a lint server. And it will just give an error. That's perfectly fine if it's not able to start it. The question is that a good, like that would be the most consistent thing. Like then it's completely up to the ESLint daemon to figure out if it can run or not, which really should, it has all that logic. So it's kind of, I don't like that we duplicate that logic on our end. But the question is, would that result in a good user experience? So for example, if I were to install ESLint, I move to my file, just focusing that file should trigger a lint message, and then it takes like a second for that thing to pop up. So what I think we need to do, we need to implement, if we're going to do it that way, we need to implement our own kind of debouncing logic, because debouncing discards is basically just discarding, but we also care about the returned result here. Ooh, I'm getting my new socks today. I'm also getting I bought like a Nanoleaf LED kind of setup that I'm going to put up behind my desk. Okay, sorry. So what I want to try is this. I want to try, when we receive a linting request with a stopped server, we debounce our request to start the server, like 1 second. But that debounce also the point of this debounce is that typically it just discards it just discards so maybe I should just write the code. The code I want to write is return debouncer, and then like this ESLint start maybe I can do this much simpler by just checking. Yeah, you know what? We can do this very easily. We can just check how much time has passed since we last tried starting the ESLint server. And if a second has passed, we'll try to start it again. So we try to start it every second. And when that's the case, we'll await. We'll await. Will we do that? Yeah, we're going to await that thing starting. And then we're going to, well, check the state. Did it actually work? If it didn't work, we'll just return an empty result. But if it did work, it will just continue and produce the result. Okay, we're going to try this. Consider us in exploration mode. Last, start, try would be like date now or something. So if the state is stopped and date now minus last is more than more than a second, yeah, this is gonna be nice. We are actually going to try to start it. ESLint start. Wow, the linter is so slow. You see this? I don't understand why it's so slow. This global user. So we are basically, are we doing a try? Okay, we need to do a try catch around that, because this might fail. I think we reject when that fails. And if it fails, we'll just return an empty thing. So what happens now is that when we push a bunch of lint messages in here, if it stopped and a bunch of messages in here, it's like, okay, since it stopped, a second has passed, we're going to try to start it. Now, immediately a new message comes. It's not in stopped state anymore, it's actually in starting. So it will wait for that promise to resolve, which is like immediately. And if it resolves, it will like continue. Yeah, and then, but then this one that's awaiting here would be resolved first, going through the linter, and then like the queued, it would just basically queue during starting. But this moves like, this is like instant, so it would then be stopped, moved to stopped again if it wasn't available. But then when a second has passed, we'll try again. And that's perfectly fine. Like, it doesn't cost us anything to try. It's just that we don't want to try for every single key press. Yeah. I guess that's what can be argued, is like, when do we actually want to try? Do we want to try every second? Or do we want to try based on debouncing? It definitely is better to like detect and watch the file system, but it's so complicated with mono repos and stuff like that, that it's like, yeah, it's just horrible. And then, you know what we could do with this logic is that when we format here, we can just always try to format it through, yeah, should we do that? Yeah, we could do that. We could like always try to format it, so we don't have to detect the formatter anymore. we'll just try to format it through ESLint, but ESLint might be stopped, right? So we don't do the logic there. Oh, this is getting complicated. This is getting complicated. The thing is, then we don't have to go and detect the formatter anymore, which makes it faster. We'd rather just go and try ESLint. And if the process is stopped, it will just return the same contents, which then moves it through Prettier. So then we go through ESLint to just see if do we have the formatting there. If not, we'll use Prettier. But then we have this thing of the plugin, like ESLint. That means that we will always go through ESLint before formatting. So that means if you do have the plugin, then it will first format do the Prettier formatting through ESLint, and then it will also do it with Prettier. Which is like technically horrible, but just the complexity of detecting this stuff and run it when it's supposed to run is much more likely to cause bad user experience than consistently having a few milliseconds. That's the problem. And then as you said, Dan, you can do things like optimistically prepare that format, which makes it fast no matter. I think this is going to be my argument in this PR, is that it's just too complicated to detect these formatters. And it's confusing for the user currently because suddenly you have formatting, suddenly you don't have formatting. Let's just try ESLint first. If it doesn't work, it will always fall back to Prettier. That means that if it does work with Prettier through ESLint, it will run Prettier one extra time. But that cost is worth it compared to the complexity reduction and the predictability in the user experience. That's it. That's what our argument is going to be. And then we'll see what people say about that. So what we're going to do here is basically just remove this. There's no more detecting the formatter. We don't actually need this anymore. What we're going to do, we're going to say in format file, if this, state equals stopped, we're just going to return content. Look at this, it's so slow. God damn it, we have to look at that next. Yeah, so we don't do the same check here, like last try check. You could argue that like you might try to save the file to kind of yeah. Might try to save the file to start a server. Like you can like theoretically open a file, nothing triggers linting, and then you save the file. Maybe it should have the same logic. Okay, well, we're just going to try this first, see what happens. Yes, so we're doing that. Is that all we need to do now? Let's build this. And then I want to try your idea then about debouncing. based on lint messages. That's really interesting. Okay, let's just see how this works now. That's nice. We got some. It's really nice. We're getting some nice feedback on the product. Just have to make sure my socks. I never ordered socks online before. I'm very excited. Yeah, just put it outside the door. Okay. Cool. They actually drop it off outside the door. That's nice. Okay, so we restarted. So let's just see how this experience is now. I'm going to remove ESLint. Oh, what happened? Oh, sorry. There we are. Test the experience. Now the thing is that now this thing doesn't care about the ESLint package being package JSON or not. So that's like something arguably bad or whatever. Cool. So what we're going to do now, we're going to, why do we have 2 dev servers here now? I don't care about the dev server. Let's go and remove ESLint. We're going to see what happens. Remove RF, no modules, ESLint. By the way, I want to double check. Let's add a rule here. Rules, no console. Error. Where were we? Just to verify that it actually stops it. Okay, so we have an error lint here now. Unexpected. So now let's remove ESLint. And what happens when I try to, I think maybe it's like cached or something. Yeah, we're just going to explore what happens here. Okay, so even though I removed ESLint from the project now. Oh yeah. This is a problem. Yeah. Okay, so this is a development problem. Because this project now is running inside this environment, and this environment does have ESLint. So I can't really verify it here. I have to deploy it to stream. Damn. I should be able to, that's the thing, that I couldn't I should be able to not make ESLint run here by basically removing it from here. But that didn't work last time for some freakish reason. But we can try again. Maybe because I didn't restart. Okay, I'm just going to commit this or git add. Retry ESLint and merge formatting. Okay, so we're going to, is this, let's remove ESLint. No, yeah, wait, now we can do it actually. Yeah, because now the problem was that we used internal ESLint in the daemon project we used, but we actually turned that off now. So that's why I couldn't test it last time, but now it should be possible. Hopefully. By the way, I have a session, I think, in 5 minutos. I wonder why there was a problem with the trigger. Why aren't I getting any information about this? Yeah, it's weird. Okay, let's see what happens now. Hopefully we don't get the lint error, then we're all good. Nice, it actually worked. No, fuck! Damn it. Yeah, I don't understand why we are getting linting. We shouldn't get any linting. Let's see if we can figure this out. Because, oh, what the hell? Oh, maybe, okay, but that's good. Yeah, the speed of lint. Wait, node modules. What the hell? Oh, I'm in node modules. Node modules, ESLint. Let's just remove. I think, like when we restart it, it reconfigures the project. But yeah, I guess now, yeah, that's the thing. I wonder if it's caching it. Yeah, so I think it has like a cached version of ESLint inside the process now. So even though I removed it, it doesn't matter. So I have to actually prevent it from being installed in the first place. Okay, so let's just remove all this stuff. Do I have like ESLint somewhere else here? Which package JSON is this? Yeah, so let's just, oh yeah, that's something else. Cool. So I think this is good. So if we restart again, that's a tricky thing. Like we're developing the project in the the product in the product, and it's a little bit tricky. Okay, let's see here. No modules, ESLint. Damn it, ESLint is back. Why the hell is ESLint there? There's no TypeScript ESLint. What the hell is this? Okay, let's just remove everything. Lint stage, maybe that installs ESLint. Maybe we can look in the yarn log file. At ESLint, ESLint RC. What the hell is all this? Can't I do something like this? I thought I could. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Like I have to do a new yarn install here to kind of say that it should all be gone. Yeah, maybe like now I'll try to remove null modules. Let's do a new, yeah, we can just test it here first. Let's do a new yarn install and see if we actually don't get ESLint in there. Ah, fudge. My session is in a few. Okay, but I'm, is my calendar full? Yeah, no more coding today, damn it. But tomorrow, okay, so tomorrow we're going to continue this journey, finish up this proposal, and say that this actually creates less complexity and a better user experience. And then we're going to figure out why the hell ESLint is so freaking slow, because it shouldn't be that slow. Awesome. This was super nice, Dan. Like, thanks for the input. This really helped me. So, yeah, we'll talk later. Bye-bye.